You know, ever since that last video, I've decided you guys are right. I need to start getting into some much more healthy habits. So I've substituted alcohol. I've substituted with coffee, with lots of coffee. That is a much healthier way to go about one's unemployment. I've picked up a few hobbies. I've been working on the hobbies that I do have. For instance, I've started a new hobby where I learn how to go through life with one hand, with full articulation. That's a fun one that I've been doing. I've been working on my painting as per usual. I've been going to the gym, lifting, until this unfortunate occurrence. Overall, things haven't been that bad. Now, one thing that is terrible is that every time you go on the internet these days, you run into this face. Now, everybody's seen this face before. You know why? Because you can't get away from it. Because every single person and their mother is posting about this very same person. You already know her. Her name is Greta. She has autism, and she goes around telling everybody how bad they are for still using plastic straws. Or whatever. She's been trotted out by her parents as an unassailable paragon of left-wing virtue. Now, this is of course by virtue of her being a 16-year-old girl. And everyone knows you cannot critique a message as pure as the one delivered by a child. That we all know. If you attack a child, what kind of person are you? You're a bad person. I mean, we all know human priority. Humans care about other adult humans like third, maybe. No, probably fourth. It goes fourth, adult humans. 3, definitely children. Definitely children. You shouldn't attack or hurt children. And then number 2 is animals. If you hurt or attack animals, you're worse than someone who attacks children. Like, I mean, think about, like, pedophiles, okay? Pedophiles, they're very bad, obviously. Now, but, okay, this guy touches kids versus this guy, like, touches dogs. I don't know. There's a weird alien degree to the second one. The first one is very human evil. The second one is almost as though we're talking about space aliens. Now, as we know, Greta Thunberg, 16 years old, the same age as Covington High School pro-life MAGA teen Nick Sandmann, who, as we all know, was given explicit death threats by the same crew of blue check-marked asshats on Twitter that are deifying Greta Thunberg. Guys like Reza Aslan, who said that Nick Sandmann had, the most punchable face in the world. You had Sarah Beatty of Saturday Night Live, one of the writers on Saturday Night Live, who offered to exchange sexual favors for assaulting the Covington kids, for assaulting a group of teenagers, yes. Now, imagine briefly if any of this was done to Greta Thunberg. Imagine that. Real quick. You can't. The one person who did say something about Greta Thunberg was a Fox News contributor of some kind. This Fox News contributor, I think, called her mentally disabled or something like that. He was made to apologize. He lost his spot on, like, the guest call list. Fox News isn't going to do stuff. It was a big deal when he did that. It was like front page everywhere news. It was like the top of Google News. It was all over Facebook. You didn't see that when you had that one Disney writer say that he wanted to shove MAGA teens hat first into a wood chipper. You didn't get that with Greta Thunberg. You didn't get that from anybody who's anybody with Greta Thunberg. But Rob, I saw someone on a Facebook comment section say something really bad about Greta Thunberg. I saw somebody say something really awful. It was horrible. Oh man, it's really the same. Greta is attacked in the same way that Nick Sandmann was attacked by the left. No. Okay. You can point to singular anecdotes of dumb Twitter trolls and people in Facebook comment section, boomers saying, oh man, Greta Thunberg, she's a dumb idiot. You can look at things like that, but how many of those people are blue check marks on Twitter? How many of those people are SNL writers? How many of them are producers at Disney? How many of them are on TV? Yeah, that's what I thought. She comes to the United States on her boat. She's greeted at the United Nations with the red carpet. She gets to meet the dude with an honorary master's degree in blowing up Yemeni school children of about her age constantly. And you see how she's treated compared to the Covington kids and also guys like Parkland survivor Kyle Kashuv, one of the pro-gun survivors of the Parkland mass shooting. It's obvious that we're not dealing with anything remotely similar here. At all. Now, because it's verboten and probably racist, to criticize the actual message of Greta Thunberg and not just the media kerfuffle that surrounds this 16-year-old girl who's being used for attention by her parents, I'm going to do so anyway. The problem with Greta Thunberg isn't that climate change is a hoax. It's not. It's that she's actually not really being this paragon of scientific virtue that everybody claims that she actually is. In fact, if I were going to compare Greta to anything, it would be the doomsday cultists from Family Radio back in, like, the early 2010s. Really, honestly, not that long ago. Yeah, she's more like them than she is anything else. You see, climate hysterics are nothing new whatsoever. You know it, I know it. It's been something that we've been seeing, honestly, since the early 1900s. Scientists so utterly convinced that something is going to happen, to the degree that they believe that it is going to happen, that they start to trot out these insane and ridiculous predictions. These predictions which really don't have the scientific validity that they claim that they do. The most famous one of which is probably Al Gore saying that the city of Miami would be underwater by now, actually. Now, obviously, we all know that it's not. Miami, are they dealing with some issues with flooding? Yeah, sometimes they are, but it's not anywhere close to what Al Gore said it was going to be by this time. And we don't actually know how much worse it's going to get. We just don't, and really we can't, just by the very nature of fluid dynamics. Now, of course, back in the 1970s, scientists said that by the year 2000, that the Earth would be covered again in glaciers and that we would be having another ice age. In fact, during the 70s, global cooling was the generally agreed upon climate apocalypse. In 1989, you had New York's West Side Highway to be underwater by the year 2019. Read a headline. Britain was supposed to have a Siberian climate by now, by this year, if predictions from 2004 are supposed to be believed. So not only is we only have 12 years to stop it, you're taking my future, how dare you? Not only is that stupid and almost certainly inaccurate, I mean, without a doubt, I'm going to stake my money on the predictions that have always been wrong, continuing to be wrong in the future. I will stake my money on that. I will put money on that, without a single doubt. If I had the money, I'd buy beachfront property immediately. You don't have to worry about that. I'll be just like Barack Obama. But Rob, you gotta understand, this time it's different. This time we know. This time we're serious. This time we know it's true. It's gonna happen. I know it's... You know you sound like a doomsday cultist right now, right? Like you sound like the Family Radio guys from 2011? You know you sound like that, right? Hey, tell me that I'm not the first one telling you this, because if I am, that's actually extremely, extremely sad. That I have to be the one to tell you that you sound like a fanatical doomsday cultist. Look, here's the thing. IPCC, the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, the IPCC, they put out a report every year. That report, the predictions in that report have literally never been accurate. Not once. They have never been right about how much it's going to warm year in and year out. There is no actual definitive model that can accurately predict the way the climate is going to change in the future. It's just not there. Anyone who tells you anything otherwise is trying to sell you something, and that something is global socialism under the auspices of the United Nations. The other thing that's so ridiculous, you think a tax is gonna stop global climate change? You think taxing people is gonna stop global climate change? a tax. What kind of meth has the neoliberals put in the water to make people think that, if we up people's taxes, if we up taxes a little bit, just one little more tax, and the climate is gonna get better. You think a tax is gonna stop China? You think China is going to intentionally cripple their massive industrial output and put a tax on it? You think India's gonna? Oh, it's actually funny. Now, if Greta had gone in front of the UN and had suggested nuking China and India in order to immediately cut down on global CO2 output, I might be willing to listen to her a little bit more, because at least then she's proposing something that will actually have a shred of difference, instead of just saying, "Oh, you need to pay carbon tax." It's actually hilarious. Oh, how are you going to stop climate change, Bernie? How are you going to stop it? I'm going to put a tax on the billionaires. Ow. The best part is they don't even believe it themselves. I'm 100% convinced that that's the case. They don't believe themselves that the world is going to end in 12 years if we don't immediately implement a carbon tax. No, they don't believe that. Because Greta came over here in a boat, right? She came over to North America in a boat. And that was like supposed to be a big deal. She was supposed to be making a big statement about climate change and how we need to start taking boats again and trains and not airplanes. But here's the thing. Her team, her support staff, which I've never met a 16-year-old with support staff in my life. I wonder who's bankrolling her. They took airplanes. They took airplanes, and they're going to be taking airplanes back. So it's nonsense. If they actually believed in what they were saying, if they actually believed that airplanes were belching out so much carbon output that it's going to destroy the world, they would avoid planes like they would avoid arsenic pills. But they don't, because they don't actually believe what they're talking about. I'm Rob Sussman. Go Browns. Shout out to Burlington, Iowa today. That's what we got on our mug.